Floyd Mayweather vs Conor McGregor, live. Follow all the build-up ahead of Las Vegas showdown. The waiting is almost over at last, with hours to go until Floyd Mayweather finally enters the boxing ring with Conor McGregor. In a fight that's hype has generated a lot of interest, boxing's undisputed king will take on the face of UFC in a combat sport spectacle. Can McGregor upset the odds against Mayweather? Or will the latter's record be extended to 50-0? Floyd is enjoying himself in the dressing rooms. Tom will be here shortly. In the meantime, here's Brian Graham on the fight. Ludi Bella was near the end of an 11-year run as an executive at HBO when a young fighter walked into his office looking to renegotiate his contract with the network. The year was 1999 and Floyd Mayweather was the 22-year-old super featherweight champion of the world. The offer on the table was a 4-fight, $5 million extension. It was, HBO insisted, one of the best contracts any young fighter in the world had been offered. But for the Olympic bronze medalist who had signed with Bob Arum's top-ranked promotions, it was a non-starter. Or, as he put it at the time, slave wages. "I'm not any young fighter," Mayweather told the room. "I'm not like the rest of those guys. I'm going to be the greatest. I'm never going to lose." And here we are, nearly 2 decades on. Mayweather is widely recognized as the finest boxer of his generation, unbeaten in 49 professional fights and 26 world championship contests with titles in 5 weight classes. He will surpass $1 billion in career earnings whether he wins or loses in Saturday's 12-round boxing match against Conor McGregor, a 2-division UFC champion who is making his professional boxing debut. But as the 40-year-old from Michigan prepares for what appears to be his final ring outing, he remains a figure with a complex legacy that can only be drawn in shades of gray. He overcame a chaotic upbringing filled with drug abuse and violence to rise to the 1%, but in turn has been dogged by allegations, and a conviction, of domestic abuse. As the frontman for his nascent promotional company, he speaks passionately and credibly about advocating on behalf of fighters. But when I asked him last week about his thoughts on Charlottesville, he pirouetted from the query with the elusiveness he's shown for years. Ali on Vietnam. This was not. States are neither red nor blue on Floyd's map, only green. Hello and welcome to live monitoring of Floyd Mayweather's retirement fund. We're deep in the undercard at the moment. Mayweather and McGregor are doing the ring around 8 p.m. Vegas time, 11 p.m. ET/4 am BST, in 3 hours. Although once they have showboated a little, and both men can do that, it will be closer to 8:30 p.m. local time. Thomas Julorum v Yordenis Ugas is next up on the card. After that we have 4 fights before the main event. Controversially, all fights on the undercard will contain 2 professional boxers. We assembled a panel of writers and fighters to predict who's going to win tonight, and the decision was 5-0 in Floyd's favor. Then again, the experts failed to call Brexit or the U.S. election, or the Premier League 2015-16, so Conor will breeze it. As our panel's pro boxer put it, Conor's got a puncher's chance, but your fat grandma who just got done eating sundaes after church dinner has a puncher's chance. The margin is so large between them, I don't really see any answer that McGregor can have for all of the things that Floyd can do in the fight. I don't give him much of a chance at all. The Las Vegas Golden Knights, you knew Las Vegas had a hockey team, right? Are piggybacking hard on this one. There's also a joke somewhere about the Golden Knights hosting more even boxing contests in the coming months than this one. I will leave you, the reader, to construct them. Many people, myself included, have been looking for a rough comparison for McGregor's chance with other sports. The most popular one seems to be that this fight is the equivalent of an Olympic decathlete taking on Usain Bolt in the 100 meters. That may not tell the whole story. Mayweather's prime is way behind him and he perhaps hasn't dominated his sport in the same way that Bolt has the 100 meters, although unlike Bolt he has never lost. I'd maybe say it's like an Olympic decathlete taking on a 40-year-old Bolt in the 100 meters, but with more swear words and more money. If McGregor is to spring one of the biggest upsets in boxing history, his inexperience may end up being the deciding factor. We spoke to the light heavyweight world champion Andre Ward last week and he said unpredictability is the Irishman's main, only hope. Obviously McGregor is at a glaring disadvantage because they are competing at Mayweather's craft, his discipline, said Ward, But McGregor's advantage is that he is different. He's an unknown. Floyd doesn't know what to expect. The U.S. v Julorum undercard fight went the full 10 rounds with winning by unanimous decision. Next up is Andrew Tabiti v Steve Cunningham. 25% of One Direction have spoken. More than 25% of One Direction may have spoken, but I don't follow them all on Twitter. Note that Neil doesn't predict a Conor victory, but it's nice to see he's showing his support. The Showtime PPV coverage has started with a bold statement that this is not about the money but about who is the better boxer. I tend to disagree. This is about the money, and Floyd Mayweather is the better boxer. Conor will make a minimum of $30 million tonight, Floyd $100 million. But the ceiling for the Irishman is estimated at around $100 million. For the non-economists out there, that is a lot of money. And for Floyd it's $350 million. The arena is roughly 10% full as Tabiti and Cunningham are introduced for their undercard fight. There are 2 more after this before the main event. While Conor will in all probability end this evening as the loser, albeit a very rich loser, it shouldn't be forgotten he is a brilliant MMA fighter and is easily UFC's most bankable star since Ronda Rousey's decline. Our own star, Donald McRae, went to Dublin this month to trace McGregor's roots. It's well worth a read while you wait for fight. The last of the non-televised undercard fights is in the books after Cuba's Yordenis Ugas's unanimous decision win over Puerto Rico's Thomas Julorum in a 10-round welterweight bout that saw both men taste the canvas. That means 3 more fights until the main event, starting with a 10-round cruiserweight tilt right now between unbeaten prospect Andrew Tabiti and Steve Cunningham, a former 2-time world title holder who's well past his best. This is a case of a faded champion being served up to a young comer, and it's playing out before a T-Mobile arena that's 95% empty. That's fairly true to form for big fights in Las Vegas, where the arena typically doesn't fill up until the penultimate bout. But tonight's undercard, already a dire fare, was dealt yet another blow yesterday when Mayweather protege Gervonta Davis lost his IBF junior lightweight title on the scale when he missed weight by 2 pounds. Not a good look, though he did apologize. Just in case you're trying to watch the fight, undercard on UFC's Fight Pass, there are a few problems. Although you had probably already figured that out. So far, $6 $1 million bets have been put on the fight, all on Mayweather. ESPN reports that the fight is estimated to pull in $80 million in bets in Nevada alone, by far the most for a boxing event in history. At the time of writing, Floyd is around 1-4 to win this fight, with Conor a ridiculously short 7-2. That's a sign of bookmakers of trying to cover their losses if the Irishman wins, rather than a reflection of his chances of winning. Ian Kapitek writes in, "Is there much throwing of jabs in MMA? I actually do hope Conor lands a freak punch on the other guy so we get a rematch in an octagon." Our own Brian Graham thinks that McGregor will fail to land a significant blow tonight, which is sensible considering Mayweather is the greatest defensive boxer of all time, and Conor has as much, or less, professional boxing experience than every single reader of this live blog. Tabiti and Cunningham has lasted the full 10 rounds, and it is Tabiti who maintains his unbeaten record with a victory on unanimous decision. 2 more fights before the main event. Next up is Nathan Cleverly v Badou Jack. No wonder these 2 men are pulling in $100 million for this fight. A beer alone at the arena is $15. Then again, if you can afford a ticket you can probably spare $15. Although you will be forced to drink Bud Light. We have a Conor. Here's Phil Popick, who has emailed in with his prediction. My prediction is that McGregor will win the fight, because at fight time McGregor will be 20 pounds heavier than Floyd. In the clinches the extra weight will wear on Floyd. Also the extra weight will give an advantage on power punches. Conor doesn't have to be accurate, just has to throw punches to make Floyd arm weary. Blocking punches. By the 8 rounds Floyd will end the fight by not coming out at the bell. Just to emphasize, Floyd Mayweather has never lost a professional fight and has faced incredibly skilled boxers. Conor McGregor has never fought professionally. Brian Graham looks back on Floyd's exceptional career here. Cleverly, the WBA light heavyweight champion, enters the ring to take on Jack. Cleverly is also, I think, the only reigning world boxing champion with a degree in mathematics. The fight will be across 12 rounds. Yet another Conor backer. I am yet to get an email from anyone who thinks Floyd will win. Maybe I'll just send myself an email. Anyway, here's Christopher O'Loughlin. Although nobody has seen McGregor box, let's not forget that he is a 29-year-old beast fighting, and I do mean fighting, a 40-year-old who has never fought nor boxed a man this big, this mean, this tough, and who knocks people, the proverbial expletive deleted on family website, out. It would be remiss of me, and downright careless, to exclude the fact that a British publication should know better than to underestimate the might and power of any Irishman. Floyd is being interviewed on Showtime. He looks chipper and says once again that it won't go the distance. He is asked if, now that the promotion is over, McGregor can fight. He says he can. Floyd also thanks everyone who is watching on pay-per-view, as you would if someone just gave you $100. Here's Daniel Strauss with an email. Would you take $30 million to get pummeled by Floyd Mayweather? Because, let's face it, you and I would get pummeled at least as much as McGregor will. I don't know, is it worth it? I would get pummeled way more than Conor will. It would take me around 3 seconds before I started crying, if I made it into the ring at all. But, in answer to your question, I would take $30 million to be beaten up. I was beaten up for free at school, so any money would be welcome. In the undercard, Cleverly's reign as WBA light heavyweight champion has